Welcome to the Virtual Memories Show. I'm your host, Gil Roth, and we're here to preserve and promote culture in this benighted age, one weekly conversation at a time. You can subscribe to the Virtual Memories Show through iTunes or by plugging our RSS feed into your favorite podcatcher. You can find the RSS feed on our websites, vmspod.com or chimeraobscura.com/VM. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at VMSPod, at virtualmemoriespodcast.tumblr.com, and on Spotify, YouTube, and TuneIn.com by searching for Virtual Memories Show. And visit patreon.com/VMSPod or paypal.me/VMSPod to make a one-time or recurring donation and help me continue to produce smart conversation about books, art, comics, and culture every week at the Virtual Memories Show. Well, the election's a week away, and I'm kind of stressed out by that and the new wave of the pandemic and some heavy-duty work stuff and, well, the fact that Martin Amis canceled on me a few days before our podcast after I did 1,200 pages of reading for it, and the dog we're sitting for because he likes to get up and whine at random times, and our own dog who tore out a claw on Sunday while running up and down the hall to play with his squeaky toys. And, well, anyway, it's all kind of getting to me, is what I'm saying. So I'm glad that today's guest is Michael Shaw, and the reason I'm glad about that is that Michael is the co-author of the new book, The Elements of Stress and the Pursuit of Happy-ish in This Current Shitstorm, published by The Weekly Humorist. Michael's co-author is the cartoonist and humorist Bob Eckstein, who was last on the show right around the 2016 election. Bob and I have stayed pals ever since, and he let me know about the new book and kind of voluntold Michael for the show. Now, The Elements of Stress is a hoot. It is a prose and cartoons handbook on this whole situation with maybe not so appropriate ways of dealing with it all. Now, as Michael will point out in the conversation, the writing is a sort of pastiche of White and Thurber's Is Sex Necessary, while also riffing on Strunk and White's Elements of Style, hence the title. What I could say is it's got a lot of laughs, and there's some great gag cartoons by both artists. And even if the advice is totally inappropriate, laughter itself has to help with the stress a little, right? Anyway, I enjoyed The Elements of Stress. I was so glad Bob connected me with Michael for the conversation, and, well, here we are. Here's Michael's bio. Michael Shaw's cartoons have appeared in The New Yorker since 1999 and have a habit of going viral, appearing on an ABC News special following the World Trade Tower attack, and on 60 Minutes as one of New Yorker cartoon editor Bob Mankoff's top 5 favorites. His cartoon about Charlie Hebdo led to his appearance on Ronan Farrow Daily on MSNBC after the shootings involving that French newspaper and comic. His cartoon about Charlie Hebdo came out years before the shooting. It was just that kind of gave it virality. His cartoons have appeared in the New Yorker Book of Literary Cartoons, the Complete Cartoons of the New Yorker, the Rejection Collection 1 and 2, the New Yorker Encyclopedia of Cartoons, the Ultimate Cartoon Book Series, and in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, Harvard Business Review, Weekly Humorist, and Prospect Magazine. His new book, with co-author Bob Eckstein, is The Elements of Stress and the Pursuit of Happy-ish in This Current Shitstorm. And now, the Virtual Memories conversation with Michael Shaw. So let's start with the book. How did Elements of Stress come together for you, and how damaging was it to your psyche to realize you'd be working with Bob?
Yeah, well, there's quite a little story there because I was working on a book before this called Elements of Stylin'. Yeah. And the conceit there was before E.B. White rediscovered Strunk and Thurber got together, and he was actually the first collaborator. But it's a lost issue. It's a lost manuscript, and I discovered it in the Thurber house. And now it's being presented for the first time, and it's basically very esoteric Thurber-esque wordplay with lots of vernacular slang based in the late 20s when Thurber was theoretically in LA hanging out with Nugent. I forgot his first name. I keep wanting to call him Ted Nugent. But
yeah, I was going to say Ted, but
Ted Nugent, yeah. His actor friend. He was hanging out at the Cafe Trocadero and writing this as a lark, and I discovered it. So I was explaining that to Bob. He goes, Michael, what the hell are you talking about? I don't understand what you're saying. What? Use English, use words.
Yeah.
And I said, how about this? Elements of strife. So we do the history of strife through the ages. He goes, I don't know. You lost me. Then I said, what about elements of stress? He goes, I like that. So he whipped out the cover, kind of, an homage to probably the second edition of Elements of Style. I said, that's cool. I would buy that. I don't know what the hell's in it, but I'd buy it because there's like 50 million copies of Elements of Style out there, and we can do a parody of it.
And at a minimum, you'll get accidental purchases. But go on. Yeah.
We might get sued by, some trust fund, and we get our names in the paper. Yeah. So, and it's very giftable. But then Bob ran with that, and this book is the results. So I blame him because I had a noble concept destroyed.
Yeah, but unsellable. But still, noble. And if anyone knows from unsellable, it's me. So
yeah, I think we're right with you with this book. But you never know; it might catch fire.
Yeah,
because it is paper.
Nice. Now, how did how much did it coincide with this whole situation that we're in, pandemic and everything else?
Did. I said, I'm not baking sourdough. I said, I can't bake. So I commute. I work at University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. I had live in lovely Manitowoc. And I had about a 40-minute commute. So that became 80 minutes a day that I said, I'll do something else. So then I started pitching ideas to Bob, and he would write back. And I basically did it on my commute time. But I couldn't listen to any podcasts. So who are you again?
Some guy.
Some guy. That's a good one. So anyway, we pounded this thing out in about 4 months. Bob thought I was writing slow because he's a machine.
Yeah. Yeah. What was I know you're used to, marketing content writing by day and cartooning is your outlet.
My advocation, not my vocation. I'm the accidental cartoonist.
So when it comes to writing for something like this, what was that process like in terms, how different was it from the cartooning?
Bob and I have very different styles. I'm florid and rococo, and he's like Hemingway on Valium. So, it's really, he goes, it's like, you're doing the microphone check. He goes, dial it down, Michael, dial it down. And I'm like, I don't even want to read this, what I'm writing. It's not for you. So I go, who's it for? He goes, people getting on airplanes are in a hurry and have nothing else to read. I said, okay.
Again, someday we'll be on airplanes.
So, see, this is the perfect gift. I said, this is the perfect gift for the person who had everything.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought it was like, you're just going to, everyone who owns the Element of Style is very annoying anyway because they're always correcting your English. So you give them this gift as a way of kind of revenge. It's a spite gift.
Yeah. Yeah. I would ask what's actually real in the book? What are the things that you
What's real?
Just in terms of this is something I legit feel stress about, and yeah.
Well, I wanted to be more true to the original, but that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So, None of it. It's a complete fraud. I confess here and now, don't buy this book. If you love Elements of Style, don't buy this book, but buy it and give it to somebody, or buy it and don't read it.
But in terms of stress, in terms of like what you're going through, what you do as again, the way the day job, and basically, I guess it's a bigger question of how's your pandemic going? You did manage to get a book out.
I don't want to say I'm enjoying it, but when you live the cartooning life, I'm down in a basement anyway, so, and I don't like to go out. My spirit creature is a possum. I'm not the most sociable guy in the world. I mean, other than the fact that people are dying, I like working from home.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never really got to do that before now. And when you're writing, I mean, they don't want me to show up on campus because I'm just one more person to clean up after.
Right.
So other than that, I got no complaints.
Did you notice any weird milestones? Mine was essentially going about 3 months without setting foot in a building other than my house. So I'm starting to wonder, is that weird? Do other people?
It is kind of weird because I've been back on campus once, and Green Bay is a very attractive campus. It doesn't have a lot of kids anyway. It's surrounded by 200 acres of trees and an arboretum. And I went on campus once, and I go like, "Oh no, why am I here?" I became monk,
Yeah.
I go, "Don't touch anything. Don't touch anything." I don't know. What was the other question?
Oh, just the general, weird things you've observed about yourself.
I can tell you. So I'm walking around. My wife goes, "Michael, you smell like onions again." I go, "What?" I go, "You're getting that onion smell." When was your last shower? I go, "Is it October or September?" So she goes, "Go take a shower. Use soap this time." And you do. You get, you become like, I mean, I'm not quite Howard Hughes. I don't have any Kleenex boxes on my feet. But it's like I put on like real khakis to go somewhere, and I go, "What are these?"
Yeah.
How did I torture myself for so long?
I've worn pants instead of sweatpants or shorts, yes. I think 5 times since the middle of March. I haven't gotten a haircut since January, which is also kind of frightening. But closing in on 50, I've got this giant 1970s rock and roll afro going on, Jufro. So, that's carrying me.
So you look like the who was the singer on one of the sidemen on Journey.
Yeah. I like to think it looks like Hendrix's white backup guys, the band. But really, I'm probably in the cheesier into the 1980s sort of look. But,
I got a prison haircut, so
yeah. I'd say the pandemic is messing with all of us in its way. My old man actually didn't shower for over 2 weeks. His girlfriend threatened to throw him out. He called me to say, "She wants me to leave. Can I move in? I haven't showered in over 2 weeks." I'm like, you should probably lead with the shower thing, Dad, because that's going to inform the rest of the response.
Your dad sounds like Brother Theodore, by the way.
His actual accent and voice, Romanian to Israeli to US, his actual voice sounds nothing like that, but I just use that as my stock impression of Dad.
Yes.
So.
I liked with the Greeks who covered themselves with olive oil and then scrape it off. I mean, the Greeks, people stank for centuries. So, and I like, during the different pandemics through life or history, how they would wear these weird bird masks and stuff the beak with cloves.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done this before, genetically. I think we would be predisposed to like going into this mode for a while.
Yeah. I have an inner cartoonist who's fine with living like this. My wife and I both work from home anyway, and where we live is pretty spread out in this wooded area, northern New Jersey.
Oh, so, my.
Yeah, we're 25 miles from the city, but there's deer, bear, wild turkey, and all this other stuff wandering through the yard. So, we're able to get by. There are moments I start to realize maybe I'm getting a little strange, like not setting foot in another building for 3 months. Those things.
I know you're in the pharmaceutical industry. Do you
sort of not in a good way
produce them, sell them, or take them?
I wish I'd produced, or at least had some. I represent guys who make the drugs for the drug companies.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, like the way the printer makes the book for the publisher. So they're not involved in drug pricing, weird clinical trials, or anything like that. They just make the physical drugs for.
I love the pharmaceutical commercials on television.
Yeah,
like it was. Who's the woman? She goes, "It was such a relief to know my Tarknicia." My uncontrollable movements was because of my schizophrenia. I go, wow. How many people are sitting here right now going, like, that's what's wrong?
Oh, thank God. I've got it now.
Yeah. I mean, these drugs for these. There's actually one for blind people who get disoriented
by daylight. Yeah. Because they don't have circadian rhythms.
Right. And they're running a commercial about that.
I know. I always have the same response. Like, really, I don't think they're watching, but
yeah, go online.
Yeah. Well, it's like on Route 287 in New Jersey, there is a sign for the Seeing Eye, which is the place that actually trains the dogs. If you're looking for the sign for it, chances are you don't actually need to.
Oh, that's true.
Go.
Maybe the dog barks.
Yeah. So
the dog barks when it goes by.
Right. It's like, I got to turn right here.
Yes.
So as long as we can make fun of blind people, even though they're probably a prime podcast audience.
I promise not to make fun of anyone.
We can make fun of the deaf and the Amish. I think we can get away with
because they're make fun of aspiring authors who, go on to programs like this in the need of, shameless self-promotion.
There's nothing shameless about self-promotion anymore. That's what true. I figured out. But I have a little bit too much shame, but that's just me. So I guess the other big question I have talked to with a couple of cartoonists who've done New Yorker gags during the pandemic, like getting past the toilet paper and hand sanitizer shortage jokes. How tough was it in the first couple of months to pitch something that was relevant, but not, that pandemic joke,
Well, full disclosure, I stopped submitting for that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I said, it's sort of my flavor is out of favor, so.
Well, that eliminates my "how are you doing" post Mankoff question. Anyway,
there you go. I think you've heard all these stories before, and I'm fine with that. That's part of the reason the book came out. I said I need to blaze a new path, and I probably will start submitting again soonish.
Yeah,
it's been about 2 years, so maybe it'll start missing me. But I could tell you stories,
off mic. Yeah.
Oh, no, let's do it right now. By the way, that George, no.
That son of a bitch.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. I think you make it less important to yourself the longer you're away from it. It's sort of like, opium. I've been off it for a little while. I don't crave it like I used to. It's not that bad.
Then you take one hit, one submission, one hit, and you're right back on.
I know. It's true. I mean, actually, I got a few sitting there in the bank, and I said if they would publish them, I'll start submitting again. You go first. And then we'll see.
So you haven't had any beyond the New Yorker, sort of pitches?
I like our good friends at Weekly Humorous.
Yeah.
It's got that faint whiff of National Lampoon, which was like the magazine I grew up with, The Thinking Man's Mad. Mm-hmm. And, I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm not deriving significant income from it, and I don't need it. So I now put cartoons where I like. I put them on my fridge, and then I post them on Pinterest, not Pinterest, Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
Shawtoons on a fridge. And I actually used to tape them on the fridge and take a picture of it. But it was hard to read. So now I just download the JPEG, and you have to just believe it's on a virtual fridge.
You should get a template of the fridge as a background.
I was thinking about that. It was a little beyond my skill set, but because my old refrigerator was a Norwich, which was a mighty machine. Yeah. I'm very retro in some ways. I feel like my time never passed because I never was in the time I'm supposed to be in.
Yeah, but is it like the 70s retro that's actually like the shitty baseball parks?
No, that's the era I grew up in. So no, it's more like 20s to the 40s where men wore fedoras and smoked while they ate hamburgers. Put their cigarette out their malt. Then they went out and got in their Hudson Hornet or their Plymouth Businessman Special Coupe and opened up the glove box and make sure their pistol was still in there, and then went about their business.
I'm a huge Miller's Crossing mark, so don't get me wrong. I'm of all Coen Brothers flicks, the old gangster movie of theirs is my all-time favorite.
I've never seen that one.
Oh my gosh, really?
I thought Hail Caesar was great.
I didn't like it the first time, and if I'm clicking around and it's on, I'm like, I will just watch 20 to 40 minutes of this movie every time. I don't know why.
There's something about it. I'm not a huge fan of like the creepy Coens. I like the more quirky Coens, like Raising Arizona and Hudsucker Proxy,
right? Yeah.
Which felt like a wacky musical on whatever pharmaceutical you could come up with. But I mean, once people start getting chopped up, I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Now, Miller's Crossing is one of the non-comedies, but before they got that graphic, except for one scene that's set to Danny Boy with Albert Finney.
I did see their cowboy flick serial.
You haven't watched that one yet on Netflix.
I have watched that.
Yeah.
It was pretty good because it was it's all over the place, but it's kind of campy in parts. So
you'll see. Make Miller's Crossing your next.
Right.
Your next oddball.
I wanted to make a reading, and I wanted to make a list based on what you tell me. So,
Miller's Crossing. It's like 1990. It's a third movie. It was before Barton Fink. All that. Yeah,
that's not the British gangster brothers.
No, that's the. It was a movie about the Quay brothers. Yes. That was by someone else. Okay. But I always mix them up with the brothers Cray, those two stop motion puppeteer guys.
You know too many people.
I'm sure. I just think that would be a great, mashup that somebody surely has done by now of, two stop motion puppeteers who accidentally become gangsters. But
isn't that's the plot to the next Pynchon novel, I do believe.
I think you and I can keep coming up with unsellable ideas. This is going to be great.
I know. I was trying to figure out. I said, this is about books. I better go read one.
Oh, God. The amount I have to do for the show.
I know. Do you have any free time, or is this it?
I have a little bit at night when if I don't have a guest book that's on my Kindle, I'll read something else. So sometimes it's for somebody I'm hoping to read, hoping to interview down the line. But other times it's like, I can just go reread Solaris or, this, that, or the other. And
So you must be a book whale, which I just learned.
I had not heard that term.
Someone who reads more than 10 books a month is a book whale.
Not that bad. I'm about 50 to 60 a year in prose books, and you add comics and other stuff. I don't count those.
I'm impressed. I've always been a voracious skimmer.
Yeah. Well, it's a weird thing because I recorded with this one artist who told me he has to finish any book he starts.
Oh, and I hope to finish any book I start.
Oh God, life is too short for that for me. There are books I've just said, this isn't working. I'm not going any farther.
This is true. It took me 9 years to finish Crime and Punishment.
Yeah.
Because I would read it at night, I would read a page and a half and fall asleep. And then the next night, I would go back and read the same page and a half and fall asleep. And I go like, well, at least I'm not getting through the book, but I'm getting my sleep.
Yeah. You got to find a positive out of all this somehow. Yeah, for me, I recently, unfortunately, read 1,200 pages of an author's work only to hear 3 days before our podcast that he didn't feel like doing any more interviews.
David Foster Wallace, he was tough.
I don't think he's feeling much of anything at this point.
Well, it's funny because this is a delightful anecdote. I had the year from hell commuting between Cincinnati and Milwaukee on a weekly basis because that was during the Great Recession. So I was working for a major retailer in the Milwaukee area whose name is Kohl's. So, but it was just a gig to keep, the mortal coil connected. And, but I decided I was going to listen to books on discs. This is before downloads. So that was my best read year of my life without reading, because I had people reading to me. And I think if someone read to me, I'd be far more efficient in my literature pursuits.
Or you'd fall asleep that much quicker.
Well, at the wheel.
Yeah.
But I got through Pinch On Against the Day. I got through.
Never finished it. I did about 150 pages and thought, I'm not getting this.
Well, I just couldn't stop that one. There was like a radio serial.
Yeah.
And
maybe that's a better format for it now that I think about it.
It is. I mean, I said I'm going to get books that I would never read or never have read. So I got Wuthering Heights. And it was read by Patricia Routledge, who's Hyacinth Bouquet, Keeping Up Appearances.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And I go, I don't like the book, but it's Hyacinth. I can listen to her. And then the other one I did was, what was the last one? The Pale King. And it was such a exercise in like existential boredom. I go, well, that's my life right now. This is good.
Yeah, but again, you can end up like David Foster Wallace, and that's not advisable for anybody.
No. He was a shooting star.
Oh, yeah, I was going to make a different joke about his final end.
No, but I got like halfway through the one book two books I couldn't get through was Naked Lunch, just because it freaked me out so much for some reason. And what was the other one? Oh, I got through Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man, but not through The Dubliners. I just couldn't quite get there. And I go, Finnegan's Wake is not happening. So
that I think would be more likely to make my brain melt down mid drive, especially if it was like late at night.
I know, it's like a Zen Buddhist chant that never stops. So I don't know.
Should be something. But tell me though about your sort of history in cartooning and like when you realized it wasn't just a hobby, but something that could destroy your soul and eat up all the time in your life too,
Fill up all the other disappointments in life, just channel them. Well, it was funny because I grew up outside of St. Louis, like in the late 60s, mid 60s, and on a hill with nothing to do. So I became enamored with comic books, and my brother and I would just sit there and draw our own comic books. And I came up with the Tranquil Four, which were four superheroes who didn't do anything. Yeah. And they were very passive. It's true. It was called the Tranquil Four. It was loosely based on the Fantastic Four, but I couldn't make anything happen. I mean, it just couldn't get it going. So I got it was strange. I got a copy of Thurber and Company when I was like 10 years old for Christmas. And I looked at the drawings. I had no idea who James Thurber was. I had no idea anything about the New Yorker or anything like that. I go, wow, these drawings are really bad. I can do that. So I was looking, these drawings of like winter near Omaha, Nebraska. And it was just a line, a curvy line, winter near Casper, Wyoming, another kind of a straight horizon line. That was it. And I knew I was being put on, even though I was 10. And really, after that, I was on my school newspaper. I was freelancing. I think I was the only freelancer on the school newspaper, and we started doing I did little essays. In fact, I called them Thurber-esque essays. Then I would include a drawing. And basically, that just got me in trouble. So so then once I got out of, I went to college. Well, I was like first generation college, and I went to get my BFA in painting. So you could tell my father, who never even got to high school.
You really must be proud of you.
Well, he wasn't. Proud's not quite it. Yeah. He worked at McDonnell Douglas and got up at 4:30 every morning to catch the bus.
And said, "Oh, painting. Yeah, that's great, son."
No, he goes, I was even like Hank Hill. He goes, Michael, whatever you do in life, just make sure you take math. Because whatever you do, if you have math, you'll do it better. And I said, thanks, Dad. So I graduated with a BFA in painting in St. Louis out of Webster University, and suddenly realized the demand for neo-abstract expressionism was waning in the Midwest. So anyway, I did one drawing there where I had to draw a skeleton of something. And then I was kind of into art brut, like Jean Dubuffet, and I was very into Paul Klee, and I started getting into Saul Steinberg. Saul, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And I drew this skeleton of the solar system as a desktop mobile. And it was like, it went into these really intricate chiaroscuro skeletal vacuum cleaners, and my drawing had like 6 lines on it. But I was praised more for that drawing by my teacher than anything else I'd done in my time at school. So I thought, wow, I fooled them. That's my snow line. I did a Thurber.
Nice.
So I ran with it.
And it reminds me of the Dan Clowes Art School Confidential, where the tampon in a teacup is the attempt at conceptual art. Like maybe they'll fall for it this time. Yeah.
I did a cartoon of that Dracula with a teacup. Only the tampon was used. Never sold that one. But then
hard to believe, Sam. I think Sam Gross would have picked that up at least, but yeah.
Yes, he actually, he was one of my idols because of the Lampoon, not because of the New Yorker.
Sure.
Then I went on and I took my first graduate school loan and went to Europe for a year and lived in Greece. And I actually sold my first cartoon to the Athenian because I was struggling with my Thurberitis, Saul Steinberg fixation, still trying to be an artist. And
capital A artist?
Yeah, trying to be, pursue my muses. So I sold a cartoon there. I go, wow, now I sold something. And then I came back to St. Louis and I started selling cartoons to St. Louis Magazine. And they liked my work, and I did spot drawings, and I was arty. And I actually took very early retirement from a teaching career that was like, it's public schools, and I needed a volume the size of a hubcap. Being in pharmaceuticals, I got accepted into the graduate journalism program at the University of Missouri, the J School. And then I started doing all sorts of illustrations for them because I was free talent, or not talent, but I was just
resource. Yeah.
And I actually wrote a thesis on cartooning while being a graduate advertising major with an emphasis in copywriting, which I think I was the only one there doing that. So if there was anything available for someone like that, I got it. So I got like research stuff done with Mort Walker, who was a graduate of the school, and Features Council. So I met a lot of strip cartoonists. I go, that's what I want to do. So I ran this cartoon strip for like 2 years. It's called Allie and Zooey, or was at the zoo, and it was a possum and an alley cat. And let's see, how did this work? So the alley cat, the possum wanted to get into a zoo, but the alley cat wanted him to stay out because he had to be free because he got fixed and he was bitter. So it was like Pogo meets Harriman meets name it all. And it wasn't bad, but it never went anywhere. So I'm still drawing. But anyway, my New Yorker fixation sort of developed. I'd been submitting. I just discovered the New Yorker, and I started submitting like you submit maybe once a month 4 drawings by mail, and you're like, who knows? But I got a job at Land's End in beautiful downtown Dodgeville, Wisconsin. And then I started realizing that, I don't know, they ran New Yorker artists with full color cartoons, especially around Christmas. And they said, here, Mike, we know you're into cartoons. Here's some cartoons we've purchased, but they had no gag lines. Why don't you give them gag lines? So that was my first close encounter with a New Yorker cartoonist, is taking one of their cartoons and actually giving it a gag line. So
it's the caption contest. You're the automatic.
I reverse engineered it. And it was a Bill Woodman.
What was that?
It was cartoonist's name. I think it's Bill Woodman.
The name's familiar, but I can't.
And,
hang on.
It was like, his stuff is great. It's like Santa and the reindeer between 2 airplanes, and one reindeer's talking to the other one. And my gag was, how long is our layover in Cleveland? So that was it. Then I met, I actually met Bruce McCall. My boss back then was a guy named Lee Eisenberg, who'd been with Esquire. So he was all into cartoons and gave me assignments. And that sort of got me going.
And I recall reading in an interview with you that they actually sent back your first couple of months worth of rejects with postage. Do you feel the fact that they included the postage, that you came out ahead financially with the New York?
They said if you want it back, include postage. But I got one of those little rejection they used to send out. So you felt like, well, at least someone paid attention to it and put all this crap back in the envelope and sent it back to me. Yeah. And I thought it was my onboarding literature for the New Yorker. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder because Ed Koren, when I had him on, he sold his very first submission and didn't sell another thing for a year and a half.
Yeah,
but he sold the first one and thought, well, my world is done. I'm going to be a New Yorker cartoonist from now on, and then discovered it's not that easy. So
I like to think that even though I'm not submitting right now, they think I am, and they're just not seeing them.
Yeah.
So when I start submitting again, they'll say, wow, Michael, I go, I've been sending stuff. Haven't you seen it? I can't believe this. What kind of place are you running?
It must have gotten lost. Get
Mr. Ross on the phone.
Yeah. Now, did you ever do the in-person look day stuff, or were you always submitting remote?
Such a story I got. No. But I used to work a lot with Bob Mankoff doing, of course, copywriting for him for the Cartoon Bank. Mm-hmm. And a couple of years, I was making more working for them as a copywriter than I was as a cartoonist. And I said, this is a while back, but Bob said, I'm coming into town. My brother-in-law used to live in Manhattan. He has since escaped to Hong Kong, but he had a really nice apartment and a closet I could live in. So I came into New York, and it was supposed to be, Bob said, Michael, this is your day. We're going to the Cartoon Bank. I'm picking you up. We'll go there. Then we're going to go into downtown. We're going to go to the office. Then we're going to have lunch at the Artiste de Pergola. It's just going to be Michael Shaw Day. And that morning I woke up and it was the first day of the transit strike. So the city was completely shut down. Mm-hmm. And I was so, I don't know.
You thought it really is Michael Shaw Day.
Yeah, I said, I'm so mortally wounded. I walked to the New Yorker from, I guess it's Canal Street. It's like close to the financial district. And it took me like 2 hours. And there was no one there. So I just kind of sat around for a while. I mean, I'd been there a few times, but I'd never dropped anything off. I never did a Tuesday because I lived in the Midwest. I mean, and I was
you
working.
Know if you were ever out for that. And I know, like Bob Eckstein has told me, about going to that and then, going off with the other cartoonists, getting lunch down in Chinatown and all that. So I wasn't sure.
I did that. I forget how we did that, but I went to a couple of New Yorker festivals, and I kind of hung out with them, and it was kind of depressing. I have to say, somebody was crying, and somebody. I mean, it's true. I mean, I go, boy, cartoonists are troubled people.
Yeah, he keeps wondering why I don't take him up on that offer, and now he's going to understand why when he listens to this one. But hopefully, we'll turn him off enough that he cuts this episode off in disgust. But
this is good. I mean, the lunch was good. I mean, they had like a veal shank, and you got like some wine, and they had a special, and you got a little mousse at the end. It was fun. I liked it.
Yeah. Did your Midwesternness, your entire lifetime spent in the Midwest, kind of conflict or help you when it came to understanding that style of humor?
Yeah, I think that helped define my brand because, as I said, I flourished in the Midwest, specifically in the German triangle of Cincinnati, St. Louis, and Milwaukee. And, I said Cincinnati's the most obtuse of the three. But yeah, I was carrying on the mantle of Thurber and George Booth and Barzotti. So, we had a little cabal and a little history. There's still a few of them out here.
The fact that you use German triangle and cabal within like the same paragraph really worries me. I'm going to be honest. As a Jew, I'm kind of freaked out.
I'm a universalist.
Yeah, you're a rootless cosmopolitan, please.
I am. I'm as urbane as you can be in, Cincinnati.
Right. And you mentioned getting to meet Bruce McCall. Did you have, sort of hero meetings like that where you got to?
Yes. I've met George Booth, who's like, he's like your, I don't know, he's the Moses. What's a good term? I met Sam Gross, So, their work there, you kind of like create little narrative images for them, and then you see them, and they're like you or me. Like, I like my gods to, stay on the page. I don't need to meet them.
That's what I wondered, whether, you had those either freak out moments or, boy, I was a lot happier before I knew what, this
not
person.
That I was unhappy. It's just that, I don't know. I sort of like the separation, I guess.
Yeah.
I like them. I like their ideas. I don't need to bother them because you can tell I'm pretty annoying.
I don't want to say anything, but I'm so glad we're doing this remotely instead of in person.
And thank you for editing out that obscenity-filled tirade.
Oh my God! I mean, who doesn't hate Roz Chast? I'm just.
What I like about her is she doesn't use a nib either. I've always had nib issues.
Well, I don't think we need to talk about your medical history now.
I think it's because I'm left-handed, and I just like drag my hand over everything.
Yeah.
Because nibs are not left-handed friendly, as far as I can tell.
I'm left-handed. I don't draw at all, but it's always been an issue where you get all the, just writing by hand, you get all the ink on your fingers.
Well, you ever notice the Obama curl? How his arm curls all the way around and comes back up the other side when he writes? It's like an octopus tentacle. I go, I never did that. I would actually write sideways.
Yeah, I've done the underneath writing when I'm trying to be careful. I'm under the line, writing up at it, and realize the world is just not made for left-handed people.
No, our life expectancy is like 7 years less than right-handed people, just because we're going to step out in front of something, not realizing.
Yeah. Yeah, so. I'm convinced that's all it is. That just the basic practicalities of this world are made for righties. But when it comes to the technical aspects of cartooning, what stuff did you have to learn most?
I'm a real minimalist. I mean, I started drawing on just bic rollerball, and purloined copying paper. Printer paper. And once I started selling, it was interesting because I was always being chastised to draw better. And I would actually get a cartoon back, and underneath, I said, Bob, what does this say? I would talk to him. And he says, it says draw better. If you don't have to. I go, well, somebody wants me to draw better. He goes, don't. If it's like Thurber. If you drew better, you'd suck. But then there was a time, not bitter, but my style was very esoteric, primitive. Who is this? Why does this desk look like cheese? Why is this head floating with no neck? What's going on? Are you even trying? And that was beaten out of me. And now it's the style of the moment. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to think I anticipated that.
Yeah. I was just flipping through, I guess, the last issue and seeing Steed and Liana Fink and people like that, and just thinking how different that is than the somewhat in a George Booth way than the.
You should see one of my earliest cartoons was there's a office, and it's people walking around, and it says something like, no, I can't even think of it. One says sales, one side says accounting, and the other side says veal. So these little veal head cows are sticking out like in a veal pen. And that is the strangest cartoon I ever drew, and it's like a style that I wish I would have kept with, because I think it would have like sort of given me a little bridge to the next level of cartooning, New Yorker pantheon. But they weren't going to have it. They go you have to draw necks on people. I don't like necks. I don't like wrists. I don't eat them. My little drawings don't, but they said no.
So, we have a house style that involves necks.
Yeah, so they said draw as deadpan as possible. Make it as real as you can. And it's like, ugh. Yeah. My real is not so real, so that's all right.
It struck me, the first gag of yours in Elements of Stress, there's a highway with two direction signs, giving the finger and getting the finger, which I laughed very loudly when I saw. But it reminded me of R.O. Bleckman, just in terms of the line and the composition and everything. And I thought, he'll be complimented by that, but also freaked out that, I'm comparing him to someone who's, kind of legendary. But yeah, you have this thing going on.
I don't want to kill that vibe that you're giving me, but who, R.O.?
You don't know R.O. Bleckman? Oh, no. God. He's one of the
okay, I'll write this down.
Yeah, I'll email you about him after this. He was one of the push pin art guys from like the 50s.
No. I was a big Fetzy Nutzel fan.
Okay, you got me on that one.
Okay, we'll trade. I'll send you a Nutzel, and you send me a.
Yeah, Bleckman is one of the big ones. He worked with Milton Glaser and Seymour Quast and guys like that. And
oh, really?
I'm throwing a bunch of New York Jew names at you, and that's
no. I mean, like Eisenberg, he brought Milton Glaser in to talk to us. It was very cool back then.
Cool. Yeah, Glaser is one of my all-time favorite gets in the way we were talking about before we started recording.
It was funny because I quote him all the time when people like art designers, are trying to do these perfect designs. And I said, Milton once told me you need to put one element of dissonance into the design. So it just kind of breaks it up to the point where it's not sort of a bland. There you go. Like, Milton? No.
Yeah. Well, you want to sound like you're in the inn. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, you've so I was, didn't help, but.
Yeah. No, I always use that concept of wabi that the Japanese had, the flaw that makes the rest of it that much more perfect. Except for me, that was when I would just put in incorrect letters in a crossword puzzle. I would just literally start putting in the letters for wabi and just figure, well, I'll just fill it up that way. So
that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, I do what I can.
Or if I draw, like one hand has 4 fingers and the other one has 6, it adds up to 10.
Yeah. We can make some horrible pharmaceutical joke around that too, but but we're bigger people than that, for God's sake.
Yeah, no, the old Saturday Night Live bit but she has extra Victoria Jackson, and she applies this topical ointment that just burns the extra finger off.
Man, I don't remember that.
Look that one up.
I'll have to, except when you look up Victoria Jackson.
That's fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you look up Victoria Jackson now,
you can't do it now.
Different person, but I should ask that with the elements of stress.
Yes.
Was there? I hesitate to use the term cathartic, but anything good that came out of that in terms of writing this stuff and getting out some of the stress monster that we're all.
It's kind of interesting because we tried to follow sort of the is sex necessary.
Thurber thing.
Yeah, Thurber wrote a chapter, then White wrote a chapter, then Thurber wrote a chapter. But basically, Bob would start writing a chapter and send it to me, and then I'd start writing a chapter and send it to him. And you could tell whose issues they were kind of working through.
Yeah.
So I did started the biblical one, and Bob was doing marital problems, money problems, political problems. I go,
yeah,
Bob, do we need to talk? I mean, Lord, man, you got to get past this stuff. And I was doing sort of the bigger, like the wine episode, the pity party.
Yeah,
and
the more universally applicable stuff.
Yeah, I like the bigger picture because the election's going to be over, the pandemic's going to pass, but still people are going to worry about
everything.
Everything else.
We're driven by anxiety. That's
exactly. So yeah, like the giving the finger, getting the finger. That was from the Rejection collection. So that's when that brand was being extended out further.
Hmm. And in terms of the fact that this episode is going to go up 1 week before the election.
Oh, really? Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Let the healing begin.
I have a great one for the day of the election also that we'll be recording tomorrow with somebody who's got some strong takes. But, suggestions or advice for dealing with that final 7 days leading up to all this?
Yeah, it's funny. My favorite, I actually did editorial cartoons for about a week and a half for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, which was like my paper growing up.
Sure.
And it was a Pulitzer paper, and they just were taking some freelance stuff from me. But I didn't, I don't like being too topical.
Right.
So my favorite political cartoon I ever did was, never sold anywhere, was a sign set in prehistoric times, and it says "Hunter for Gatherer." Right. So,
yeah.
Or there's like someone comes to the door and it's a caveman, and they say, "Do you think you're better or worse off than you were 4 million years ago?" Sure. I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to be that of the moment, I guess.
Right. I'm with you. There's a reason why most of these episodes, a lot of the shows that I do are quote unquote timeless. Like sometimes they're tied to somebody's book, but so what did you think about what happened last week is not my. And
it's funny because when you watch, I am thoroughly stuck on old television and old radio. And my wife goes, "Are you listening to Gildersleeve again?" I go, "Yes." But you can't watch Johnny Carson or Bob Hope because it's all topical humor, and it's not funny anymore. I mean, because you don't have the context. But you can listen to Gildersleeve, and you can watch Green Acres, and it's still funny because it's just like timeless goofiness.
Yeah.
So.
It reminds me of the Simpsons Rear Window parody from the early 90s where Krusty the Clown goes on vacation for the summer, so they show classic Krusty. And it's a 1962 episode where he's in like black and white suit interviewing someone from the labor department saying, "Isn't it true then that we have perhaps a labor surplus and not a labor crisis?"
I'm going to say you're the David Susskind of the podcast world, but I'm not quite sure who David Susskind is. I just watched last night or a couple nights ago. You have your smart TV with your Roku and your Fire Stick, and we've stolen like 5 different accounts so we get HBO Plus and Amazon Prime and blah blah blah. And I'm down there on YouTube, and my wife goes, "What are you watching?" I go, "There's this great interview between Alistair Cook and James Thurber that I've never seen all the way through," and I like had found it on YouTube. I have all this technology, and I'm just watching stuff from about 70 years ago. So
there's nothing wrong with it. The whole point is it's an infinite jukebox now. Like we can just find whatever is out there. Somebody has.
I did watch Borat last night and was amused.
I haven't watched the new one yet. Yeah.
Well, so one thing that shocked me is. They talked about the last one. It was like 8 years ago.
Might have been longer.
I know. I go like, what the hell? Was it that long ago?
Yeah, I think it's like 10 years plus.
I go, Jesus Louise. I mean, that's the thing that kind of, flummoxed me was where did that time go?
Yeah, everything from 2000 onwards has been a bit of a blur, even though that was my adult life.
Well, the funny thing is for my cartooning career, I mean, the Gulf War was golden.
Yeah, the original one, the 1990s Gulf War.
Yeah, then
it was 2003. I mean,
No, it was 2000 because I sold my first cartoon in the millennial issue, and then I actually got a contributor's. Kind of like a little thing at the top for the Cartoons Go to War cartoon issue that Ed Koren drew the cover for. They go, "You're a contributor, Michael. Congratulations." I go, "Well, wasn't I always?" I was so clueless. I just, I sort of like just let it happen. And
was that one of those roses, not raises things where they give you a nicer title but no more money?
That's where they put you at the top. In fact, Roz is in that same thing. They kind of put your name at the beginning as a contributor. So you're not at the bottom. You're also at the bottom in order of appearance, but you're also at the top as a contributor. We're way back in the alphabet, so we don't look good. It was a magic moment.
Yeah. Nice. But yeah, the Gulf War was your heyday.
Yeah, that's when that was my last good war. That's not so much.
But you are a man with a manifesto, so there'll
I
always be.
I have a manifesto and a credo. My credo is tragedy plus time equals comedy, but who's got time anymore?
Yeah.
So that's my credo. My manifesto you read, or hope you don't have to.
It was a page. It was a page, but I made it through. It was easier than the Unabombers one, and that's
I think everyone needs a manifesto.
Yeah, I should work on my own.
Yeah,
I tried a quote unquote mission statement. Actually, that's a question I as somebody who used his writing day job as an excuse not to write for a bazillion years. I'll put it to you. How did you segment I have to work with words all day long for my day job. I just want to get away from things with actually, having an art for yourself and writing on the side.
That's true because since I wrote primarily for catalog and direct mail and direct response. It's like 2 paragraphs. I'm done.
Yeah.
wait, you mean I gotta stack paragraphs on top of each other, and
Yeah.
and there's no something to buy in between them? This is not easy.
I don't get to write act now. Yeah. Yeah.
The funny thing was too is Bob would go like, "What the hell are you writing?" It's like he says it's like these inner concentric circles of cleverness that you're just waiting for something to happen and nothing does. I go, isn't that what novel writing is? I mean, come on. It's an internal dialogue.
Yeah.
And he goes, no one wants to read that. But he doesn't.
Was it basically sort of I want to do the exact opposite of the writing I'm doing by day?
No, what helped me actually, and is I am applying more of the techniques of copywriting to an attempt to write. I said I am now a humorist.
Yeah.
So I need to get the certification for humorist or the licensure. So I'm official.
Yeah.
But if I try to write like selling copy, I actually have a better go of it.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it crisp, the Perlman.
Yeah.
That's my other credo. Keep it crisp.
So you're a man with multiple credos.
I know, that credi.
Yeah.
See, credo, isn't that...
that's what you get at seafood restaurants.
Yeah, it's an Italian appetizer plate.
Yeah. Yeah, see, for me, so much of the trade magazine writing was about getting rid of the adjectives and, just trying to do this really plain spoken prose. It became really difficult for me to do any other sort of writing outside of that. But again, it was also an excuse on my part not to write, I think.
Whereas, me too. I mean, it's like when the day job, I wanted to write this book called, what was it? Day Job, Find Your Calling on the Company Dime. So I always had these visions like Kurt Vonnegut working for a public relations firm, but writing Slaughterhouse-Five on a tiny portable typewriter inside his desk. So he's like, okay, if Vonnegut can churn out Slaughterhouse-Five during his coffee breaks, I mean, what's my excuse?
And then we realize
lack of talent. I got it.
Yeah, that's one of those things. It's like Wallace Stevens, insurance executive, and then goes home and becomes canonical 20th century poet. You're like,
yes. In fact, I have a great.
Yep.
My favorite poetry cartoon is, and no one's ever gotten it except for one person, and I gave it to her as a wedding gift and it's a drawing of William Carlos Williams, and below it says "Great Moments in Poetry." And then there's a word balloon coming off the page saying like, "Who the hell ate all my plums?"
You got me on that one. I don't know poetry. Shit.
I think I've exposed a little, dead area in your.
I know. Trust me. I always tell people, you guys think I'm the most literate guy in the world, but there are such insane gaps. I only manage to cover them up because everybody thinks I'm so well read they don't even bring stuff up. And that's how I manage to keep them fooled.
Oh, well, look at William Carlos Williams. That's just like, I've eaten the plums from the refrigerator. I'm sorry they were so tasty.
Oh, someone just made that joke today on Twitter about the space probe that's scooping up asteroid.
Oh, come on!
And I didn't know that was a
let's go.
Williams joke. Shit!
I know.
At least he helped explain a joke to me that I didn't get earlier.
I've done some good today. I'm pleased.
Yeah, and you managed to take
my creative instinct is first do no harm or do no shtick.
You're always doing shtick. That's okay.
I am. Everything's a bit.
Which is okay as long as your wife doesn't hate it. That's
no, she does. if she hates a cartoon, that's probably a pretty good sign. Someone might buy it because it's like gone that weird way that it has a tangy kind of kombucha thing going for comedy.
Do you have that? Do you have a sort of test of what works and what doesn't, or is it again, using your wife as a sounding board?
Yeah, it's usually I once in a while I go like, yeah, this is pretty funny, but usually I have no idea.
Okay.
Because everyone reacts in a different way.
Yeah, that's what I always wonder, whether there's things that you just go, this is going to work, this is gold, and then you get your expectations destroyed. But
you just submit it, like I'm sure I have cartoons I've been submitting for 15 years and just keep playing with them and changing them around. I don't have a good example at the moment, but I constantly resubmit and just tweak, or I just constantly resubmit and say, like, I'm going to keep sending this till you buy it. So just get this over with.
So I told Peter Cooper once that that was the advantage of Emma Allen replacing Bob Mankoff, was that she hadn't seen.
Oh yeah, I did that. I started back to my
greatest hits
2000s. I'm still doing that. That was one of my plans, but it's really funny. I started going through all my old stuff, which is just like sitting in boxes, and I'm going to redraw it. I'm going to recapture my old style, and God, this isn't funny, is it? It's just crap. So that still might work. I don't know.
You have to give it a shot. And are we going to see a sequel to Elements of Stress? I know there were.
I have a prequel coming out, The Elements of Styling, but that will be done by an academic press, and I doubt if no one will see it, but I'll be pleased. And I still like Joyer's shtick. I got to talk Bob into doing that one.
I'll get him on next. We'll browbeat him into it.
Please, he's killing himself right now with this. He's like swimming to Cambodia or something. I mean, he is going to make this thing work, or he's going to explode. And I think he's starting to, tick,
combust. Yeah.
Yes.
I've seen it, and I've seen him in some of the video podcasts they've done where
he's the hardest working man in humor.
Yeah, and does that work?
I don't know. Hard? I'm the least hardest working person anywhere. So
I guess it's a nice balance to have. I don't
know
which one of you would
I actually think so, because he's into publishing and distribution and printing, and I'm into dinosaurs and kitty cats eating dinosaurs, and so.
Yeah. Last question: favorite thing to draw?
Ooh, wow, that's a good one. I like drawing. Fish are fun to draw because they don't have hands.
Or necks.
Or necks. I did this little series called Fish with Issues. And it was every different fish, and the fish would have some sort of issue. Like, fish would be in a bottle. And so the other fish would look at him and say, "You've been drinking again, haven't you?" Penguins were fun to draw. I've sold some penguins cartoons because they're all kind of the same. I like geese, and I've sold some of those because geese all look the same.
But those are all neck. Yeah.
I have all these geese sitting around, and one goose says to the other, "Instead of mating for life, how come we can't be a flock with privileges?" So I like animals. And they don't have to be that real either. Because they're like two lions sitting there, and one lion says, "I'm trying to eat more vegetarians." So, see, this is funny stuff.
Again, if I was running New Yorker's comic section, I'd buy,
Well, those are all sold. I just haven't done anything that funny since then.
Oh, well, there's your problem.
Yeah, I know. Vultures are fun. I mean, animals are fun because they don't have to be that real. But people,
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah, I will.
Just about them in general. That's it.
I'm a people person, so yes.
Yeah, but again, at a distance,
as we've
both learned over the last 7 months.
Not friendly.
Yeah. No, I use friendly, not friends.
Friendish. Actually, I like drawing. I like drawing viruses too.
I will tell you, when I recorded with Sam Gross, it had to be 6 or 7 years ago, he showed me that coming week's submissions he had. And there was a gag that was a bunch of scientists trying to run out of a lab. And on the other side of the room was this giant microbe with feet. Right. And one of them says, "Well, at least it's not airborne." See, I busted a gut looking at that. I'm like, God damn it! That's.
I did a cartoon that I posted on Facebook like 6 years ago, and it's this couple looking at television, and the woman's speaking, and there's this like cute little virus that looks just like the coronavirus, and they said, while scientists have no idea of the cause and cure of the virus, they all agree it's as cute as a button. and I posted. I just how Facebook will automatically repost something.
Yep.
And
it managed to grab that. That's going to go over well for you.
Yeah, it's like 6 years ago, and it's go like, God, Michael, you were so prescient. I go, no, this is Ebola. Come on.
Yeah, it's a completely different life-destroying virus.
Yeah, it's a virus. And then I have a great one of I got to get this one into the Weekly Humorous. It's Macy's Day Parade, and they're all in hazmat suits, and all the inflatables are the different viruses. And I actually tried to draw them well.
Yeah. I just figure if one good thing is going to come out of all this, it's that we don't have to go anywhere for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, my kids want to come down for Thanksgiving. I'm like, no.
Yeah, going to pass.
There's only 2 of them, so they can come in.
Right. Wisconsin in particular, you guys are getting destroyed right now. But
I don't. Where you got to go in Wisconsin? I don't get it.
Yeah, it's weird, but
I got to go to Kenosha, or I got to go to Sheboygan, or I got to go up to Schwano. I go, no, you don't. Why?
Yeah.
So,
just again, anytime you leave my town, you could see New York City skyline from 20 plus miles away. And I think someday, but there is nothing that is going to bring me back into that city right now, even though it's probably safer than New Jersey. I'm like, I'm reducing all risk here. So,
it's funny. It's not funny. I had to go drive to St. Louis because my sister was non-COVID related health issues. And I was driving like through Illinois, and you could almost see the coronaviruses hitting your windshield like bugs. Yeah. I go, oh, Jesus. And you stop somewhere and you're like, I don't even want to breathe.
Right.
And people are kind of wearing masks, but they got them like,
chin diapers.
Yeah. They look like they're carving cheese at a Subway. So,
oh, man. So yeah, I think on that we should probably leave off before either of us transmits the virus over the internet. But
I think we've made real progress today. So
yeah, I think if we try next week, our time is up now. But
I admire you doing this on a regular basis with people like me. I just can't. It's wherewithal I don't possess.
It's again, you mentioned being a people person. It's a weird way of, the way I put it, I get like an hour of exposure of people's lives, and this way they don't really realize how shallow and thoughtless I truly am. So they just they get the greatest hits for an hour, and that works out well.
But then you get an hour of my existence. So I'm so sorry.
Same thing. I don't know too deeply about how badly things are going for you. I'm just kidding. No, things are great.
Actually, I'm doing fine. So thanks for asking.
You seem to be doing.
I'm good.
Yeah. And you're not, physically at risk from all this because you're able to hide away and live the life of a cartoonist.
Exactly. But living the life of a cartoonist puts you enough physically at risk for everything else. So
yeah, and there's a soul destroying sadness, but we'll leave it.
But at least it could be funny. And I'm going to reacquaint myself to your podcast. So you've gained a fan.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. I hope we managed to get some people into the elements of stress too. But.
Thank you. So I'm going to learn about Glenn Baxter again. He was one of my heroes.
Yeah, I'd emailed you about that. I can never tell if I should refer to him as a cartoonist or like an artist with a capital A because of all the gallery stuff that he does.
I know, it's like, who calls me a cartoonist? Come on.
But
they're amusing word idea drawings.
Right. Yeah, he's a perplexing, or we'll just say perplexing figure as far as his art goes. But, he's a blast to follow on Instagram. You always get to check out all the weird stuff he posts, all the great art.
I will check.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have a website because I let my domain name lapse, and now it's Korean. I think it's Korean, like online betting site. Someone took it.
Yeah, that's what I discovered when I was doing my research. I'm like, let me just look at our website. Let me go put some bets down on my theories.
I'm planning on resurrecting it. I need a good domain names. I wanted Shenanigans, but that sounded too hard to spell.
Yeah, and chances are if somebody does misspell it badly, they're going to think you're a racist. Anyway, we'll come up with something.
Ooh, that's a troubling tone to end on, but let's do that.
Awesome. Mike, thanks so much for
All
coming
right,
on, Mike.
thank you, Gil. I appreciate it.
And that was Michael Shaw. The elements of stress and the pursuit of happy-ish in this current shitstorm is a hoot. And maybe it'll help you make it through the next week or the next 4 years. Go find it at better bookstores and at weeklyhumorist.com, where they have a shop link. I ought to record a new one with Michael's collaborator, Bob Eckstein, but well, I was looking through the calendar, and Bob was the very last guest I recorded with prior to the 2016 election, and I think I'm still traumatized by that one. Here's hoping I get over it next week. Anyway, Michael Shaw does not have a website. Well, he did, but he let it lapse, and now it redirects to a Chinese sports gambling site. But he's on Twitter as Shaw Tuner, which is SHAWTOONER, and on Instagram at Shawtoon on a Fridge, which is SHAWTOON_on_A_FRIDGE. There'll be links to all of this in the show notes for this one, including the Chinese gambling site if you're looking to put some money down. Now, in the before time, this is when I would ask you for support through my Patreon or PayPal. I'm not doing that anymore because, frankly, I'm doing okay with my day job. The support I'd love from you is emails, postcards, letters, whatever. Tell me about the show, what you like, what you don't like. When it comes to money, my job is treating me just fine, and I would really rather, if you have money to spare, that you give it to the artists, writers, and other people in need through their GoFundMes, Kickstarters, Indiegogos, Patreons, whatever, or to foundations and funds like your local food bank, Freedom Funds. We're a little too close to the election for donations to matter that much, but do what you can. The world needs a lot of fixing, so if you can help, please help. Also, still have a couple dozen copies of the very first issue of my very first zine, Haiku for Business Travelers, left. It's free. If you want one, just drop me a line. Or you can visit haikuforbusinesstravelers.com, and there's a little form there. You can fill that out. Nobody ever fills that out. Bots do, and I just save those because some of the entries are hysterical. Anyway, the zine is free. It's print only. There is no digital component. Hit me up if you want to kick in a couple of bucks for postage and production. You can, but this is not a money-making thing. It's just me sharing my art, such as it is. Our music for this episode is Fella by Hal Mayforth, used with permission from the artist. You should visit my archives to check out my episode with Hal from the summer of 2018 and learn more about his art and painting. And you can listen to his music at soundcloud.com/Mayforth. And that's MAY4TH. And that's it for this week's episode of the Virtual Memories Show. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back next week with another great conversation. You can subscribe to the Virtual Memories Show and download past episodes at the iTunes Store. You can also find all our episodes and get on our email list at either of our websites, vmspod.com or chimeraobscura.com/VM. You can also follow the Virtual Memories Show on Twitter and Instagram at VMSPod, at virtualmemoriespodcast.tumblr.com, and on YouTube, Spotify, and TuneIn.com by searching for Virtual Memories Show. And if you like this podcast, please tell your pals, talk it up on social media, and go to iTunes, look up the Virtual Memories Show, and leave a rating and maybe a review for us. It all goes to helping us build a bigger audience. You've been listening to the Virtual Memories Show. I'm your host, Gil Roth. Keep reading, keep making art, and keep the conversation going.